Hello everyone, and welcome to another beer review. Now today it's a Sunday video, and also it's the start of a new series. Well, we've got a few new series coming up. I've got beer still waiting to kind of arrive, and that's going to be another new series. That's going to be from the Stonehouse Brewery. But we've also, from Hampshire, we've got FFF Brewery from down near Alton. And yeah, so we're starting off with a golden ale. So we're starting off with the kind of lighter beers. I think obviously that next Wednesday's video is also going to be a Pilsner from this place. So we're doing the lighter ones first, and then we're progressing on to getting towards the kind of darker beers. And there's a mild in there, there's a couple of bitters, including a recent kind of award-winning one. Apparently it was one of the bitters won an award as the best bitter. So in the UK, so it'll be interesting to see what that's like. Now, a wee bit of a kind of a caveat with these beers, because this is a Satisfaction Session Golden Ale. I bought so many beers of these, and on their website they were supposed to say that there was a section there that when you checked out you could actually say, because I bought a couple of kind of taster packs, and it said on their website that you could obviously put down what beers you would like put into your taster packs. And when I did the checkout, I was maybe expecting maybe something like kind of checkbox or something like that, or somewhere where you could put it. And I think what they meant was you could maybe add it into the notes or additional information, and of course I didn't. I was expecting something more formal to kind of put down, because if I had been, I then had to go back and then try to kind of work out what the names of all the different ones I actually wanted and things like that. So I bought it, and I thought, well, maybe they'll send me an email, but I never got an email. So I sent them an email just kind of highlighting, when I bought these taster packs, I presumed there was going to be more of an official kind of a form to kind of fill in of what kind of bottles you want. And they confirmed, yeah, you just kind of fill in some details in the little kind of additional kind of notes box, which is fine, but I just kind of didn't really think along those lines. So I missed out. And I just explained, well, I'm buying them for doing some beer reviews, and it'd be nice if we could get a selection of some of the ales, but make sure they're all different, don't repeat them and things like that. So they contacted us, and they basically said, well, with all the things that are kind of happening just now, is we've got a bit of problems with our packaging just now, so we can't really sell the kind of taster boxes out in the kind of taster pack kind of boxes. But what we can do is we can put the flat pack boxes in for the taster boxes in with the packaging, and then you can make them up yourself. And I said, well, it's okay, because they're just for reviews anyway, so I don't even really need the kind of taster kind of box kind of packaging, you know, that kind of taster pack kind of packaging. So don't bother sending it, because I don't need it, I just need that. So they says, okay, that's fine, not a problem. Well, for you being so understanding, can we chuck in a couple of extra beers? I says, well, I'm not looking for anything, but if you want to feel that you want to do it, then great, that's wonderful. It's very much appreciated. So they threw in basically kind of one of their kind of, each of their kind of beers and that type of stuff of the range, which means I got more beers than what I planned, and I got beers that I wasn't looking to buy, you know, and that's why I've got Pilsners and other ones as well that I probably wouldn't have bought. I think I've got a pale ale or an IPA that I probably wouldn't have bought, but I've got that as well. So yeah, so that's the kind of caveat. So I have actually had some free beers, and I also got a free hat from it, a free bunnet, a free woolly bunnet, which is quite nice as well, and it's green, so it's a nice green colour. It means I can hide in trees, jump out on you, you know, which is, again, a very useful and appreciated gift. Thank you very much. But I just want to kind of say that it's not going to change my reviews, because at the end of the day, I've got to be honest to myself and to use a lot as well. but more so to myself. And at the end of the day, if I don't like it, I'm going to say I don't like it, regardless. But I will also put it on record that they were very kind to send me some extra beers, and which I'm quite happy to review and everything else. But I will be honest. But yeah, it was a nice gesture, and they didn't have to do it. And yeah, overall, dealing with the brewery was actually very easy, straightforward, and yeah, they were very helpful, and they did kind of keep us informed with what's happening and everything else. So even just on the basis of dealing with the brewery and the kind of respect they've got for their customers and their customer service and everything else, they've done well. You know what I mean? Because there's plenty of the ones out there that are the exact opposite. So that's the kind of admission over with and everything else. So you know that. But this must be one of the free ones. Although would I have bought the golden session ale? Probably not. I might have done if depending, because what was it? It was 6 beers I was basically buying. I think it was. And yeah, but anyway. Does it say now? It's 3.4%, 500ml bottle. What does it say? Golden session ale, a sessionable hoppy golden ale, easy drinking with notes of flesh fruits, and peaches. I don't know if that's fresh fruits or just flesh fruits. I don't know, but it says flesh fruits rather than fresh fruits, which might not be coming across in my Scottish accent. But I'm not saying it fresh. I'm saying flesh. You know, as in. I can see your fleshy parts, dear. You know what I mean? Anyway, and peaches, there you go. Satisfaction Golden Ale. So, let's crack it open. I'm looking a bit on the table. So, I need to get my other one that John Morris sent. I kind of, it's slightly bubbling all over. It's like wee Willie Winky's candle. yeah, that's what happens when the wind catches it. Anyway, his nightgown. Oof. A gust of wind caught his nightgown, and we could all see his little candle. Anyway, now we know why it's called Wee Willie Winky. Anyway, filth. Oh. The football on in the background, I'm just noticing that Everton's 1-0 up against West Ham. So after sacking the manager on Saturday morning, after getting them to go out and talk about do a press conference about the game on the Friday, that was happening on the Monday. They've now travelled to Everton's new stadium with their new manager, who was sacked from Nottingham Forest, and now getting beat by their former manager at Everton. And it just kind of epitomises that a badly run club. You know, I mean, you talk about managers and you talk about players and everything else, but it also kind of shows you that I should keep my mouth shut because West Ham's just equalised. But usually it's a case of behind the scene, the kind of management and owners make kind of arsey decisions, and it does eventually they get their camera on the pitch, don't they? I mean, Manchester United is a good example of that, isn't it? Right, so it's a bit cloudy, as you can see. Ha-ha! Can smell hops, a little bit of grain, a little bit of syrupy kind of malts, but yeah, I'm getting hops. And I'm getting kind of fruits, so which is marvellous, absolutely marvellous. Yes, right. Well, how bad can it be? It's 3.4%, isn't it? Isn't it 3.4? Oh yes, 3.4, right on the button. Right, let's see what it tastes like. Yeah, there's plenty of hops there. Yes, there is plenty of hops. Like you say, not citrusy, but it is quite a bit of a hoppy back end. to the point is it's maybe slightly kind of overpowering things just now, but we'll soon see what happens when my mouth becomes more acclimatized to it. But I would say it's definitely more modern bent on a golden ale. I mean, it used to be with golden ales, you get nice kind of a little bit of floralness in the mid-tongue and maybe a hint of bitterness at the back end. That's how interesting golden ales used to be, which were fine. I actually prefer golden ales than lagers. So if I had a chance, as the case is, I would rather drink a golden ale than a lager, because I just found I got more from a golden ale. But I'll be totally honest, if you compare golden ales to any other type of ales, I'd probably pick every other type of ale rather than the golden ale. It's not one of my favourite ales, but if you compare it to a lager, it's more interesting and a nicer mouthfeel. So in many of my videos, I would recommend golden ales as a better alternative for traditional beer drinkers to have rather than lagers. But, and here's the big but, less so nowadays, because a lot of golden ales now are going kind of down the more kind of modern route, with its kind of more kind of a more of a kind of a new world edge to their hop choices, and also more hops in them as well, and it's lost that kind of Englishness, I would probably say. I think a lot of golden ales, kind of epitomise with the floralness and everything else, kind of epitomise kind of a nice English summer's day, especially kind of down south. It would be like the kind of ale equivalent of a cider, a nice crisp cider on a nice warm summer's day out in the country. And you could see golden ales being the same with a kind of floral bent and everything else. But nowadays it's like, it's less of the kind of English countryside in a warm summer's day and more of a kind of industrial bent of kind of, it doesn't feel natural, a lot of golden ales. I'm not saying that this doesn't taste natural, but I would say they've lost that kind of Englishness in their kind of natural kind of flavourings, and it just feels kind of slightly forced and industrialised now. And it's like, well, it's a golden ale and it shouldn't be anything to do with England and the UK and tradition. It should be all about new things and progressive, all the kind of things that have been happening in society that have actually brought down the standards. It's like craft brewing is like kind of the similar thing. That's what's happened in the kind of beer world. It's kind of tried to force things on and new ways of thinking and new ways of doing and everything else. And instead of kind of taking us to a kind of new era or whatever, and that, it's just kind of dropped the standards down. So what we've got is kind of where we went from something that was actually quite nice and quite pleasant to something kind of bordering on the undrinkable. So yeah, it's like anything right now that seems to be kind of progressive and modern and all this type of stuff, and new era, that type of stuff. And it's like, yeah, it's kind of mimicking and mirroring society. It's a mirror of society. It's just, you just taste and you think, yeah, the standards are way down now, aren't they? It's kind of sad, embarrassing, and foolish, from that point of view. So yeah, let's give it another go and see if it's going to calm down a bit. Yeah, it's the same. The minute it hits the kind of middle of the mid-tongue, the hops really start to kind of kick in, and it kills every other kind of flavour off. It just, it loses body, and it actually goes slightly watery at the back end just because there's so much of the hops coming through, and they're not even particularly clean hops. I mean, they're saying, is it peaches? I'm not really getting peaches. And yeah, there is a kind of slight citrus bent to it and that type of stuff. There's no passion fruit or anything like that type of stuff. It's just, yeah, it's one of these ones where I'm sitting there thinking, why did you bother? You know? I don't think it's kind of delivering anything groundbreaking. I don't think it's delivering anything better than what you'd have got with a more kind of traditional golden ale recipe, following a more kind of a traditional hop recipe, and a little bit more on the malt, because the malt kind of runs out of steam by the middle of the mid-tongue, and it just kind of like gives up the ghost, and the hops can do whatever they want now. I'm going out for something. I'm going out for a real pint, maybe go and get yourself a TTL or something like that, or maybe get a bolt maker, or maybe Old Peculiar with that hops. Let them hop off the tits. The malt's I'm going to be enjoying kind of Thieksons in an old glass of Old Peculiar or something. You know what I mean? Because it feels like it just leaves the building. It just kind of gives up the ghost. And because of that, it kind of gives you a kind of imbalance to it as well. So it's not particularly balanced. The hops, they're just too much in your face. You know what I mean? I don't mind hoppy brackets, and I don't mind maybe people introducing kind of more modern or new world hops to a degree. But again, it's all that kind of thing. Less is more, a bit more controlled and everything else. And just kind of, even within the hops, get a kind of a balance. Again, it's slightly kind of mismatched, kind of, feeling of the hops. And not a particularly good start for the Triple F Brewery. And I'm certainly showing my appreciation for their kind gestures by, it's going to get a bit of a humping, I'll be totally honest. I've got to be honest. Yeah. I don't think I'll end up in the Christmas card list if it carries on like this. Shit. Yeah. Oh, Christ. Right, let's break down these flavours so I can just stop drinking the bloody stuff, because it's getting to that stage now that I don't really want to drink too much of it, because it's just the whole back end's annoying me, and it really is. It's just killing this fucking beer. It really is. It's killing it. And even then, it does taste like it's kind of extract, and it has that kind of slightly over kind of hoppiness of it. Maybe they're even using oils as well. But I would say it's definitely kind of, at least the pellets, maybe the kind of oil extract as well. But yeah, it definitely doesn't come across to me as being naturally grown, live hops, as they say, you know what I mean? Definitely around the kind of pelletized route, and just with some of the tones, of this kind of sharpness, you get that kind of real sharpness. Some of the flavors from the hops does kind of remind me of the kind of extract oil, you know what I mean? Which, I'll be totally honest, is unforgivable. If you're using that in commercial beers, then you deserve every bad fucking review you get. You really do. You could have opened yourself up for a world of hurt, and you've got to take it. You've got no defence, you know what I mean? To cut that kind of corners, it's bad enough putting bloody sugars in it and things like that, inverted sugars, I'm sorry, but I remember as a case, I watched an old BBC archive video. So I did, and they were at the Hook Norton Brewery, and the sun had just taken over, and of course Hook Norton had basically this was in the kind of late 50s, 60s or something like that. The sun had kind of taken over, and he's still a traditional brewery and everything else, but again he was already looking ways of cutting corners and everything else. And yes, he wanted to get away from the malts and that type of stuff, and he wanted to start bringing in sugars. And of course, up until then, no sugars were used. It was all 100% natural. Whatever basically you got sugar-wise came from the grains, you know. No additional sugars added. And his father was dead against it. Absolutely dead against it, and just would not entertain it. Just thought that was the fucking devil's work. And I agree with his father at the time. But no, he couldn't wait till when he took over the brewery. Oh yeah, he was bringing in the sugars and everything else. And it was quite sad to see the kind of transition of what it was, and the whole reputation for the Hook Norton brewery was actually built up with the recipes on the traditional brewing recipes, with the, you know, getting everything from the malts and using real live hops and all this type of stuff, to the point of things changing and less malt being added, more sugars being added and all this type of stuff. And yeah, it was just a kind of I mean, people would watch it and probably find it interesting just because it's a video about brewing and everything else. I found it interesting in a way that it was sad, because again, it was just a kind of an end of an era where basically young people coming in and, oh, we know better. I do. I just remember the reputation that Hook Norton is sitting on just now was built up by the people that were doing it properly, with getting everything from the grains, using good quality ingredients and getting everything from them ingredients, not adding shortcuts like inverted sugars and all this type of stuff, and hot pellets and all this type of stuff, you know. Yeah, and it's just kind of sad. You know what I mean? And now it's a case as though you've got these breweries riding on past reputations that have been built by doing things properly. And then they try and make out they're still so wonderful when they've been cutting corners ever since. And at the end of the day, they've actually kind of affected their reputation to a certain degree by cutting these corners and taking the easy route and everything else, which they'll say is, oh, it's a more consistent route actually, and makes a more consistent beer and everything else. Yeah, and it also makes a less honest beer as well, you know. And I feel that's what I'm getting from this. It just feels like it's a less honest beer. Now, if I remember rightly, this brewery, it started off in the 90s. I'll put all the details down below, and it feels like it's a kind of a younger, kind of newer brewery, just by the flavour tones of this and just how it feels and everything. But let's break down these flavours. Start off a bit of malt, but quite light actually. It's more of a kind of a syrupy malt, not really any kind of caramel notes or anything like that. So it's quite light in the pale malt. A little bit of grain, but not much. And yeah, a little bit of sweetness again, not much. I'll be totally honest, it's quite a bland front of the mouth. I mean, there's no bang to it, there's no big start to it, you know. I mean, some beers start with a big start, or they end up with a big finish, you know, or you get ones that just kind of, you know, they're kind of consistent all the way through, you know, that kind of stuff, that kind of nice kind of session balance kind of beer, nothing too untoward, but just, you know, a nice mouthfeel, nice bit of malt, you know, and it just has that kind of consistency. This starts off really quite tepid at the front end. It really is. It's just kind of lukewarm, as they say, you know. It's just, there's not really much there. It's quite a light kind of bland front end. Maybe at the mid tongue, and maybe get a little bit of clarity with the malt, just because the grain maybe slightly dies down a wee bit, the sweetness has kind of disappeared, and you maybe get a little bit more malt, but it doesn't last long, because the middle of the mid tongue, then it's basically from then on it's all about the hops, and it's just a mixed match. You can taste hops and you can taste some slight accents, but again, it's all kind of a mixed match. Nothing really kind of stands out clear. You know, I'm getting, maybe I can distinguish certain kind of slightly kind of fruit tones, but nothing enough to kind of identify clearly. And as for peaches at the back end, well, when it gets to the back of the mid tongue, going on to the kind of back of the mouth and the aftertaste, that's when you start getting slight piney tones, slightly sour edges to it, and it's just, that's when it really starts to kind of feel that You sure there isn't any kind of extract oil in this? Because it really is that you start getting that kind of slightly sharp hop tones, and it's no longer kind of fruitiness now. It's just kind of, yeah, it's just that kind of horrible kind of over hopped edge to it with these kind of sharp kind of almost extract oil kind of tones, and it's a horrible back end. Well, I'm sure this is what they probably think is this Triumph, but for me it's a horrible back end because it's just a cacophony of how would you say, yeah, it's just a mix match. It really is. It's just, I've used this terminology before, but it's like drowning rats fighting in a sack, trying to get on top of each other, and it feels there's a bit of that going on. And yeah, not good at all, really. It's just, oh God. Mouth feels okay, not too bad actually. Maybe a little bit more carbonation than maybe needed, but not too bad. Overall, yeah. It's on the kind of sour end of the kind of modern day golden ale. Session wise, I don't see how that's sessionable. Is there a bit of, a wee bit of, it doesn't say it's a live bottle, but it looks like there's a bit of sediment at the bottom of that. So there is. You can see a little bit of sediment. But it didn't say whether it was a live beer. But yeah, it just serves serving a cool dark place, best served at between 5 and 8 degrees C. It doesn't say it's a live beer or that type of stuff. But yeah, overall, yeah, it's at the kind of more sour end of modern style golden ales, and yeah, it's a bit of a disappointment really. Definitely, I wouldn't say it's sessionable because it's with that type of hops at the back end. I don't see what the enjoyment would be in that on having a session on that. Seriously, half a bottle, 250ml is enough for me right now. Seriously, I wouldn't want any more. I think it's just, no, this is not good at all. So out of 10, what would I give it? It's not enjoyable at all. I mean, if you're into these type of flavours, but even then, if you're into these type of flavours, it's not even delivered or executed well, in my opinion. You know, I mean, if you wanted more kind of a hoppy or modern hoppy kind of craft kind of back end, it's not even executed particularly well from that perspective either. It's just, it's all over the place at the back end. And it really is. It's a mixed match, a cacophony of disasters, I would probably say. Your front end's a fucking disgrace. It really is. There's nothing to that front end. It's fucking weak and bland. It really is. There's a bit more body in the front half of the mid-tongue and that type of stuff where you start to get a little bit more malt, but it has absolute shit kicked out of it by the time it basically gets to the mid-tongue. It leaves the building very quickly, and then it's just battle of the hops. And yeah, it's all over the place at that point, and it just gets worse from then on. So on that basis, I'm going to give it a 2. I really am. I think it's a fucking abomination. It's a dreadful beer. I'm sure they maybe think it's wonderful, and maybe some of their craft beer drinkers will think it's tremendously wonderful and so groundbreakingly progressive and everything else. I just think it's shit. I'll be totally honest. You know, I've got to be honest. So yeah, it's shit. Thanks for the hat, by the way. It was a nice gesture. But yeah, 2 out of 10 is all I can give it. And it's a bloody shame because I'd actually wanted this to be nice. I mean, there were nice people and everything else, and I don't feel, it feels like, you know, you're kind of being a bit ungrateful, you know what I mean? But I've got to be honest, and yeah, I don't think, even if it was overly hopped and everything else, but it was more balanced and everything else, but it's not. It's all over the place. It's just, no. So yeah, 2 out of 10, 500ml, 3.4%. I wouldn't recommend it in any way, shape or form. Hopefully their other beers are going to be a lot better, Well, at 2 out of 10, I'd be very disappointed if they weren't, you know what I mean? Because it's not a good start. Christ. But anyway, thanks for watching. Cheers. And bye for now.